So today we are adopting a non-statutory definition of anti-Muslim hostility.
And now we don't have 2 million Christians in Syria anymore. Maybe we have 300,000 or 400,000.
This new czar could, in my opinion, bully people and organisations into silence, finding hostility in every honest debate.
Something strange is happening in Britain right now. Very strange. Winston Churchill's face, the man who helped Britain stand firm in its darkest days, is being removed from the £5 note, apparently, to be replaced by British wildlife, otters, badgers, hedgehogs. The Bank of England calls it modernisation and a way to celebrate nature. But hold on a minute, is that really what's going on? Really? Why remove a symbol of courage, bravery, many regard a national hero, just as other changes are sweeping through schools, communities, and daily life?
You won't believe this Labour government document. I've got it here in my hands. What do you think of this? Your kids spied on for Islamophobia in school, control over what news channels you watch, told you must adapt to immigrants' way of life. Flying the national flag is right-wing extremism, and a brand new Islamophobia czar enforcing some of it. This is Labour's new social cohesion strategy. Trust me, I've read it all. Let me talk you through it. Top of the list.
Before we keep going, to support the content, remember to grab your Make Britain Christian Again t-shirts at www.saintavs.com.
Mosques, schools and businesses have been attacked. Women harassed. Families are living in fear. We have a duty to act, but you can't tackle a problem if you can't describe it. So today we are adopting a non-statutory definition of anti-Muslim hostility. This gives a clear explanation of unacceptable prejudice, discrimination and hatred targeting Muslims so we can take action to stop it.
But Churchill stepped up when Britain needed strength the most. His picture has been on the £5 note since 2016. But today, March the 11th, 2026, the Bank of England made it official. No more historical figures like him, Jane Austen or Alan Turing is their goal. The next notes will show UK wildlife, apparently. They say that it's better for stopping fakes and a nice way to highlight our countryside. This sounds reasonable at a first glance to people who may not understand the narrative and agenda that is being built by the left and Islam right now.
Right, so first up, they're appointing a special representative on anti-Muslim hostility to, quote, champion efforts across the UK to tackle hostility and hatred directed at Muslims and those perceived to be Muslim. Note the choice of words there, perceived to be Muslim. Does that remind you of any much talked about definitions, perhaps? This new czar could, in my opinion, bully people and organisations into silence, finding hostility in every honest debate, just like Canada's failed version that smeared Trojan horse reports as Islamophobic. I'm sure that's going to go down really well. They also will be adopting a non-statutory definition of anti-Muslim hostility as a, quote, a tool for government and organisations to better understand, measure, prevent and address it. They're urging schools, colleges, councils, the NHS, every single public body to monitor and report anything that could be labelled anti-Muslim under this expansive framing.
But then you notice so much deception from the mainstream media, and everything connects. Our money used to tell Britain's story through its people, through its history, fighters, thinkers, creators.
But they're also going after minorities and specifically against Christians.
What about integration, I hear you ask? Well, they're calling it a two-way street. To me, that implies Indigenous Brits must adapt to migrants' way of life too. And why? Why should British people have to adapt their well-established way of life to accommodate foreigners who you have had at least assumed moved to the UK for their love of our way of life, our values and our country? Why aren't they just integrating with us? Why has there got to be this two-way street? The report also slams some as displays of national flags as the misuse, quote, of national symbols to exclude or intimidate, claiming the extreme right turns symbols of pride into tools of hate. But there's no mention of the actual hate marchers and their flags. Remember them marching through the capital. And imagine thinking that raising our national flag is a right-wing extremist thing to do. It really is incredible stuff.
But let's zoom in to what's happening elsewhere. Labour councils in places like the north are warning schools, children's drawings, art classes that they could be blasphemous to Islam under Islamic law. Who cares? This is a Christian nation. Music lessons, dance classes, they might apparently clash with Islamic teachings. This is straight guidance to teachers. Don't get it twisted, they are commanding teachers when they say these types of things, getting them to steer in a different direction when teaching our children across the nation. The Daily Mail and the Telegraph covered it fresh. And on top of that, the government rolling out a new definition of anti-Muslim hostility, plus talk of Islamophobia lead roles, the czar to be appointed. More monitoring in schools, pushing certain news sources, telling people to adapt to newcomers' ways and not to offend Muslims. So apparently rejecting their belief system is offending them. You see where this is going? The Union Jack in some spots is getting labeled as racist. Our national flag, the St. George's flag, labeled as racist. The Union Jack, a symbol of so-called hate. What is going on?
The report also states this, and quote, "The ease with which peoples of different cultures and races live side by side in our diverse democracy is both envied and feared around the globe." Well, all I'll say to that is, how do you think it's going in Birmingham or Leeds, perhaps? And here's what it says about our ethnicity and identity of being English. And it's interesting because there's a lot of debate about this online. It states that leaders should promote a confident, modern patriotism, especially since, as they say, recent failures have allowed the far right to link English identity to being white or Christian, exploiting it as a racial or religious construct that most people reject. They also want to crack down on what they're calling divisive content. And quote, they want to do this, create secure online spaces in what I think is a blatant and unabashed attack on free speech. Who gets to decide what's divisive, by the way, and what isn't? Is it Keir Starmer or David Lammy or Ed Miliband? It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Then there's the push for making trusted news sources more prominent, particularly during crises. Their idea is to boost what they call trustworthy outlets during events like riots or unrest. I wonder who they might be having a little jab at here. Might it be Britain's #1 news channel, perhaps? Well, look, there is some good news in this report. They finally admit Islamism is the biggest threat to Britain, making up 3/4 of counter-terror caseloads and 94% of terrorist deaths in the last 25 years. These new powers will be delivered to shut down extremist charities, block hate preachers, and oversee homeschooling. And it will stand against blasphemy intimidation, they claim. Of course, you all remember the famous case of the Batley schoolteacher. In summary, this so-called social cohesion strategy, this rubbish, is nothing but a tyrannical blueprint for Labour's dystopian Britain, eroding freedoms, vilifying acts of national pride, enforcing thought police on kids and adults alike, and, of course, pandering to the far-left ideologies while betraying the very essence of British identity. Worst of all, it creates new Islamophobia weaponry to shut down criticism of the religion and anyone else who might look like they're Muslim, which is frankly insane. I'm sick of it. Labour has learnt nothing from the grooming gang epidemic that they oversaw, and successive governments as well, of course. And it seems to me they're willing for it to happen all over again.
Old symbols quietly step back, new rules quietly pushed forward, and what is anybody really doing about it?
Here's what jihadis have done in the US in the last week. One shoots up a bar in Austin, Texas, kills 2, shoots 14. Another one lights a Molotov cocktail and throws it at Christians in New York City. Another one throws a nail bomb or shrapnel IED at Christians in New York City. Another one tries to bomb a Southwest flight going from Nashville to Fort Lauderdale. Another one throws another IED shouting Allahu Akbar at a protest near Gracie Mansion in New York City. Another one makes a bomb threat and forces a plane to land in Atlanta. Another one drops a bomb threat at Kansas City Airport, and the DHS is reporting that jihadi threats against churches across the US right now are completely exploding. Radical Islam, for some reason, is the one religion that the left will fight for till their dying breath, for whatever reason, and Christianity is somehow always the problem. Funny how that works.
Right, now it's all connecting. In recent weeks, wave after wave of troubling incident linked to Islam hit the streets, hit America, hit Europe. The headlines often flip it to blame Christians, while Christian women are telling you what's on their mind, voicing genuine worry about patterns that they've experienced with Muslim men. And you're called a racist? But those worries come from real history, 1,400 years of conquest, ideology that targets outsiders in brutal ways.
If I say out loud that I'm afraid of Muslim men, I'm branded as a racist. Not because my fear is irrational, but because statistics confirm what I say. Muslim men are overrepresented in rape, violence, murder, and other serious crimes across Europe. I'm not afraid because of skin color. I'm afraid because I know the ideology that underpins the culture many of these men carry, a totalitarian, women-hating, anti-human doctrine that for 1,400 years has oppressed, conquered, and killed in the name of Islam. The moment I express this fear, it becomes xenophobia. I'm the one that needs to be shamed for xenophobia. Meanwhile, these same men can come into our countries, our nation, spread fear, threaten, and harm through rape, murder, and whatnot, and it's not defined as terror. It's not treated as a problem. Pointed out, and somehow we remain the problem. We're the racist, and every murder of a Muslim is amplified, politicized, and used to the fullest to heap more shame on the national population. The double standard is boundless. We see it every day. We invite terrorists, rapists, and murderers, placing them ahead of our own citizens for housing, welfare, and for protection. We put them ahead of us in the endless healthcare queues. Palestinians are in front of us in our healthcare queues that we paid for. These are terrorists. We're told that our fear is irrational, while their fear of us is considered legitimate. We who fear for the future of our nation, our culture, we're branded as Nazis. The irony is complete. Who, after all, did Hitler actually ally with? Oh well, it was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem and the Muslim Brotherhood. Socialists and Islamists have found common cause. Even then, they did that. Later, we saw the same pattern in Iran, where socialist revolutionaries allied with Islamists to overthrow the Shah, only to be crushed by the very Islamists they had helped bring to power. Must you really feel the noose tight around your neck before you grasp the gravity of it? And no, my question is not a call to violence. It's a genuine and logical question, since most of Iran's socialists didn't understand the reality until they were on their way to the gallows, neck snapped. History is repeating itself. Today, it's the Western socialists and globalists who once again are aligning with Islam. Both of you share a hatred of nation states. Both of you seek to crush the rights of the individual. Both of you live off control, fear, and submission. And once again, it is we who point this out, we who warn you, were branded extremists. Meanwhile, those who walk indirectly in Hitler's footsteps get to call themselves progressives. You're on the wrong side of history. I refuse to be dedicated into this linguistic prison where truth is hate, statistics are racism, and defending one's own country is extremism. We are not the ones who are on the wrong side of history. It's you. You're on the wrong side of history. The ones who import the violence, you excuse it, you remain silent about Islamist brutality, and simultaneously demonize your own people. To those who insist on silencing criticism while believing you stand on the right side, wake the up. History will judge you, just as it has already judged the alliances whose footsteps you now walk in. Okay? Toodles.
An Orthodox Christian breaks it down. The Quran has 123 direct commands for violence against non-Muslims, which is you.
I read through the Quran many times in preparation for class, and I noted how many direct commands to violence Muhammad gave. My count, 123. 123 explicit commands to do violence to those who resisted the advance of Islam, and particularly to Christians, including details on how to kill us. Stab them in the neck. I mean, this is one of his commands. It's not a coincidence that many people, for instance, in England, who have suffered Islamic violence, have been stabbed in the neck. People go, oh, they got stabbed in the neck because the person was crazy. Actually, he was just following Muhammad's commandments.
In fact, we had a Muslim here to kind of say, hey, I'm a moderate Muslim.
The majority, there are forms of Muslims, right? The majority are the Sunni, and the Sunni have given us the hardest time. So I mentioned traveling in Syria in 2010. 2011, the war broke out, and now we don't have 2 million Christians in Syria anymore. Maybe we have 300,000 or 400,000.
Incredible.
Yeah.
There used to be how many?
2 million.
2 million Christians in Syria.
That was just in 2010. There used to be a lot more than that.
In 2010.
2010.
And now it's down to a few
Vast
100,000.
majority are gone. Absolutely.
And they've fled or they've been killed.
Both.
And this street test that took place reveals a lot. Condemn Jeffrey Epstein? Obviously. Instant agreement. I also condemn him. Then, what about Muhammad marrying a child? Look what happens.
You condemn Jeffrey Epstein for sleeping with an underage.
I condemn Jeffrey Epstein because he was a Zionist agent. He slept with children.
Do you condemn Muhammad for marrying a 6-year-old?
She had her period. In Islam, when a woman has her period, then you could marry her at 6.
You see how these people think? Now, Benjamin Netanyahu lays it out. You may agree with him, you may not, but this isn't limited to one place or people. It's aimed at Christians, America, the West, you, your family.
Do you think that October 7th gave people a sense of moral authority to express their anti-Semitism? Well, because the internet has been flooded by fake propaganda describing Israel as the aggressor instead of the country that's been aggressed upon, saying that falsely accusing us of genocide when we have sacrificed our soldiers in taking out terrorist places that we could have just carpet bombed, and we didn't. We do everything in our power to keep civilians out of harm's way, and Hamas did everything in their power to keep them in harm's way. They shoot people. When we tell Palestinian civilians, please get out of this neighborhood because we're coming in, Hamas shoots them if they want to come out. But they're not only targeting us. And they not only chant death to America, death to Israel, death to America, they want to get rid of us in order to get rid of you. But they're also going after minorities, and specifically against Christians. Christians throughout the Middle East are being oppressed. They're being driven out. It's something that the only safe place for Christians, where the Christian community is growing and thriving, is in Israel. They've been kicked out of Turkey. They've been oppressed in Syria, in Lebanon, in the areas that we handed over to the Palestinians some 30 years ago. We were controlling Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus. At that time, the overwhelming majority of the Arabs living in Bethlehem were Christian Arabs, over 80%. Now, after 30 years, they're down to 20%.
because they're oppressed. And so they leave. But that's not what's happening in Israel itself. In Israel itself, they're growing, they're thriving. They serve in the army. Christian Arabs serve in the army, yes. Very brave soldiers, because they know that Israel is fighting not only our battle, but their battle.
Then we have this, Muslim's note, stating he wants people to die in their rage, calling us kuffar, pledging allegiance to ISIS, and yet the attention was shifted onto white supremacy.
Qayyumi said in recorded post-arrest statements that he had watched ISIS propaganda on his phone and that his actions that day were partly inspired by ISIS. The complaint also details statements made by Amir Balat after his arrest. En route to the NYPD precinct, Balat made spontaneous statements without being questioned by NYPD officers that were captured on body-worn camera footage. He said, "This isn't a religion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the Prophet. We take action, as well as, if I didn't do it, someone else will come and do it." And later, after waiving his rights, he requested paper and wrote a message declaring in part, "I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. Die in your rage, you kuffar." Now, die in your rage is a commonly known ISIS slogan, and kuffar is an Arabic term that refers to non-believers.
But there are some stories that are really frustrating, even though they're not violent, such as videos of people, migrants, wasting soap, pumping dispensers, emptying, pouring it away, while Brits are out working, paying taxes to fund this.
Are you King American? What is the hand was key?
Whilst many are claiming that the London Chocadero is being planned to be turned into a mosque, but the locals are saying no way. What do you think about this? Meanwhile, Ilhan Omar pushes to scrap ICE.
ICE is a creation of a department that was dismantled, and I think it is time for us to dismantle ICE and work on creating immigration enforcement that is lawful, that is humane, and that treats people with the justice and dignity that they deserve.
Whilst President Trump seems to be going after this community, the corruption, the fraud.
We're also going to revoke the citizenship of any naturalized immigrant from Somalia or anywhere else who is convicted of defrauding our citizens. We're going to get them the hell out of here fast.
The bottom line that most people need to get is this goes way beyond banknotes and wildlife. It's an ideology trying to get Britain to slowly let go of its Christian-shaped foundations, the values built on morality, freedom, standing for the truth, and to try and replace it with Islam, an ideology that pushes for dominance, pushes for subjugation, oppression. It's trying to sideline British and Western history. Churchill was considered by many a national hero, so why do you think they're continually trying to deface his statues, continually churches being burnt down, whilst the mainstream media is sending out money to protect the communities where the majority of these attacks are coming from? Something doesn't make sense. Churchill said truth holds up no matter what hits it. Britain lived that once. When I was growing up, this country was strong. Now is time to choose. Do you want to be a muscular country, a strong country, standing on Christian values, having morals? Or do you want to bow to a satanic ideology trying to destroy your very way of life? If you want to stay up to date with what's going on, information that most won't touch, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.